Ladies and gentlemen, the Near Fall Network proudly brings to you the modern-day Micah Russia, the guru of grappling gab, the one, the only, Shooter!
Near Fall Nation, say hello to the bald guy. Welcome once again to another episode of Drive By with Shooter. As always, thanks for stopping in and taking the time to hear what I do for the Near Fall Network. Huge week in wrestling. I'm going to be joined a little bit later on with a special guest to discuss Wrestle Kingdom 12. But before that, Raw and Smackdown this week were very interesting. I'm going to go on Smackdown because at the end of the show I'm going to touch a little bit on the Raw thing with my guest. But few big things happen. We're still setting up for the Women's Royal Rumble and setting that road to WrestleMania and setting a course for what's about to go down over the next few months in the WWE. Something that happened on SmackDown was the continuation of this Daniel Bryan, Shane McMahon storyline that includes Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens and now AJ Styles. I want to give credit because I love the fact that, after Clash of Champions, we weren't sure where we were going with the WWE Championship other than it was around the waist of, at least at the current time, the correct person. I'll always volley and lobby for AJ Styles to be WWE Champion because he is absolutely, hands down, the best wrestler in the world right now. But we really kind of didn't know what the title picture looked like after the failed Jinder Mahal experiment, and lots of names were tossed out there, including Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and lo and behold, we're actually getting both of them, I guess, as number one contender. This is framed as I'm assuming you watched SmackDown, and if you're listening to this, and if you didn't, you can always catch our review done by King of Nerds on our Facebook page, Facebook Live, and he can give you the lowdown on what happened. But that being said, basically the challenge was made by Daniel Bryan, kind of mentioned by AJ Styles due to situations in his match with Sami Zayn on SmackDown that he should just fight them both in a handicap match. And Daniel Bryan was like, that's a great idea. We'll do that at Rumble for the title. I'm not sure the logistics of that, but obviously this is going to play a huge role. I still see AJ going into WrestleMania as the WWE Champion. I don't know how. It's possible that he's not, but I'm just saying, I want to see him go into WrestleMania as WWE Champ. A lot of AJ Styles fans, especially fans of his work outside of WWE, his first foray into WrestleMania was Y2J, which is kind of interesting that people weren't necessarily too happy about that when you're getting what we are going to talk about later. Then people were even more mad that his next go-around was with Shane McMahon, which, again, you're working with the boss's son. If you're not in a title match, you're in a spectacle match, and there's not really a better place to be if you're not fighting for a championship. So I think AJ walking into this WrestleMania really cements the hardcore fans with, hey, they like this guy and they want this guy to be a large part of what's going forward in WWE. Not that he has a ton of time left. He has talked about retiring and this, that, and the other. I don't think he's riding off into the sunset yet, but he also works a very physical style that probably takes a strong toll on his body, and who knows how many years he has left. He is 40 years old, so there's that. But I like the interjection of Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn. I like that they're both involved in the title scene. I like all the different scenarios this can set up for either WrestleMania or for down the road. You have conflict between Shane and Daniel Bryan. You have conflict possibly between Zayn and Kevin Owens. So all of this stuff just adds to the possibility of amazing storylines that we could build to and do things that are different that we necessarily haven't seen in a while. Build some new characters, get some new storylines. It's always a good thing to have new storylines and new characters developed for pro wrestling. So even with that, you spurn off into this situation where we have Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon and what's going on with them, and is Daniel Bryan going to wrestle in a WWE ring again? I don't have that answer. I think it would be foolish for them to push and tease as much as they have and not let this happen. But it's WWE, and sometimes we do some crazy, stupid things that just don't make sense. So we have to take it for what it is and just enjoy the ride while we get there. But I just wanted to touch on that because just the amount of possibilities, like I still pick Nakamura to win, but the Royal Rumble and face AJ at WrestleMania, let me be specific. But we have all these possibilities now that nobody really knows what's going to happen. I mean, more than likely, KO and Sami Zayn argue when it comes down to who's going to pin AJ, and that causes AJ to win and retain this title and roll into Fastlane as champ and hopefully roll out of there and go into WrestleMania as champ. But that may not happen, and we might get a Kevin Owens Sami Zayn feud into WrestleMania and Roman Reigns wins the Royal Rumble, so we don't even have to set that up. So there's a lot of possibilities. You also have Shane and Daniel, and what's going on with that? It has to build to something. Even if it's not a Bryan return to the ring, it has to build to something. It just makes too much sense the way they're telling the story. It would make no sense to not have Daniel Bryan involved in something, and it's giving a lot of hints that maybe we see an in-ring return, even if it's in a tag capacity. I don't think that should be an issue for the fans, especially if it's kind of a test of water, see how he does, and go from there, and possible setup for a future match, maybe with AJ Styles or Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn or any of the lot of them. So I'm excited for what's going on. And speaking of being excited, I'm excited for the sport of pro wrestling in general. We had a historic event this week, no matter how you look at it, whether you're a fan of WWE or New Japan or Ring of Honor or Indies or whatever you want to talk about. We had a historic night for professional wrestling with Wrestle Kingdom 12. And I want you guys to stick around because we're going to talk about it. We'll be right back. Welcome back. By Thursday morning in the U.S., Wrestle Kingdom 12 had come to a close, at least for people who work normal hours. I was actually driving to work while it was going on. But I have to talk about it, and as I'm not the wealth of knowledge when it comes to New Japan, and I make no bones about it, I'm not going to lie and tell you I watch something constantly and am knowledgeable on something that I'm not. I keep up with it, but on a very minimal basis, so I can't do this alone. So I think you guys probably have an idea who's coming to talk to me, but he would be our resident New Japan expert. So, once again, gracing us with his presence, the authority on New Japan, the sensual Swami of the squared circle, the near-fall narcissist himself, the face that the women love and the men envy, none other than King of Nerds. What's up, Mike?
Oh, nothing much, man. Nothing much. I was trying to think of some, catchy thing to say. Some, random bullshit catchphrase I come up with. And I just couldn't put one together by the time you introduced me. So, hey, what's going on, guys? I'm here.
Good to have you here, as always. Now, first of all, I want to give you props for the amazing coverage you provided on the Near Fall Network for the Near Fall Nation. You, not that it was work, but you stayed up and watched Wrestle Kingdom.
It got to be work at one point. I'm not
I'm
gonna lie.
sure.
There was a point in the night where it got to be work. And that point was Jay White versus Tanahashi.
But, that being said, you watched Wrestle Kingdom, you did live post-match reviews or reactions, I guess would be a more appropriate thing to say, for almost every match. And then you did a post-show, and you also, after, I guess this morning, our time, New Year's Dash, you jumped on and did a little bit for that as well. And there's been a lot of developments. I'm not going to sit here and ask you to review every single thing you saw this weekend. But I want, or actually week, because, who schedules a pay-per-view in the middle of the week? But I want to kind of touch on some of the highlights that was, in my opinion, having not had the time to sit down and watch this yet, but seeing just the news, the notes, catching the last 5 minutes, thank you, King, of the Alpha Omega match, these different things, it's got to be talked about because I think there's a lot of fallout from this. I think there's a lot of good things, not just for New Japan, but for just pro wrestling in general. That includes WWE, that includes Ring of Honor, that includes this. Literally, I feel like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like this literally is a big deal and a milestone for professional wrestling / sports entertainment as a whole.
The last 2 days, I would completely agree, were a milestone in professional wrestling. The last 2 days, we're going to look back on in like 5 years. The last 2 days is like, man, those 2 days really changed a lot, didn't they?
and it's funny to kind of, state it that way because, growing up, we're both men in our 30s who have watched professional wrestling nearly our entire life. You expected monumental things from Vince's WWF, WWE, even during the late time WCW before they lost the Monday Night Wars. But it's awesome, I think, is a correct term. It's refreshing to see a company, and this is not WWE bashing by any means, but it's refreshing to see a company that is not backed by billionaire Vince making a change for the better in professional wrestling.
Yeah, 100%. First of all, before I get into anything, I'd like to say, to clarify that Tanahashi Jay White match, that was not a terrible match. I'm not saying that watching that match was work. That's just personally where the sleep deprivation kicked in. It was a great match. I'm a fan of both these guys. Yes.
That's where you realize you needed a little more coffee.
Yeah, that's where it really kicked in, like how long I'd been awake. So, yeah, it is refreshing to see a company. I don't honestly really even expect it from WWE anymore. Like the making of waves. It just every now and again they do something cool that you didn't expect, like the Hardys. I didn't think that really made waves, but that was like, oh, that's cool. This is like making waves, man. This is like making waves like you haven't seen waves be made in a wrestling pool since the 90s.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board with that. Because here's the thing. It's got people talking. And as I've stated on this show, I have nothing against New Japan, Ring of Honor, or anything outside the WWE bubble, but my time is very, very limited, and since our bread and butter is WWE, and that's what I grew up on, that's what I focus on. I keep tabs of everything outside through you, through other various, outlets, social media, this, that, and the other, because I enjoy pro wrestling, as we all do, and I think that that's okay to like everything. That being said, this is it's getting people talking. It's getting, hardcore, straight, nothing but WWE fans talking. It's getting more eyes on New Japan, which, I don't know, having listened to Y2J's podcast, that was necessarily what New Japan eyed this as at first. And of course, I'm talking about Jericho coming in against Omega, but that's what it did. I mean, if you look at the attendance, this was reported. I wanted to run this by you. I don't know if you saw this, but it was reported. The source is a New Japan website that the Wrestle Kingdom attendance for 2016 was 25,000, give or take. 2017, 26,000. This year it was almost 35,000, dude.
Yeah, they were reporting that during the show that this was the largest attendance they'd ever had.
Technically an 11,000 increase from the year before. A 12,000 increase from the year before that. Like, that is incredible.
Imagine if this show would have been easy to watch on your TV. How much business they would have done.
And I've heard a lot of people kind of state that, like, you know, one of the things they can do to really improve is to improve the ease of use for their website. And I would say that that's probably, although, you know, I've yet to try that out.
2013, I believe they partnered with Jeff Jarrett right when he had started GFW to cross-promote. Jarrett brought Wrestle Kingdom to American pay-per-view television. So they just need something like that. Right.
And I think that, I mean, I rephrase that. I know they will get there. They have to get the right people to break that communication barrier and make sure that everything's getting translated the way that it needs to get translated. I don't mean literally translating. I just mean that everything's on the same page. You know what I mean? That they understand what's easy for Americans. They understand the access that we demand. You know, it can't be fun to watch something on a laptop. And yeah, sure, you can hook your laptop up to your TV, but we're lazy, and that's a pain in the ass.
100%. It will always be easier just to not watch it.
Exactly. I even made that, you know, way back in the day when we were on that other spot. I made that reference with 205 Live. The ease that it's on the network, but it's immediately following SmackDown. But guess what? You watch SmackDown on USA, on your cable box, on your satellite. Now you got to turn your Xbox or your Roku or whatever you're watching this through, even though it's on your TV. That's like 3 extra steps. You got to hit the input. You got to turn it on. You got to find the app. You got to pick the show. We don't want to do that. That's a lot of work, especially at 10 o'clock at night.
Well, like, yeah. And shit, you might not even have the thing that the New Japan app is on. I believe it's only on Roku and Amazon Fire Stick right now. Right,
and from what I saw, the Fire Stick, that was like literally within this week they unveiled that was going to be available through that medium.
I've always watched it on my iPad browser and streamed it through my Apple TV. And I have a Fire Stick now, but this is still how I do it.
And the fact that it's on a Fire Stick does show that they know that and they're working towards that. So real quick, because I know we don't have a lot of time, and I know you have a lot of stuff you want to talk. What to you for this entire, not just Wrestle Kingdom with New Year Dash, what were the highlights for you as a New Japan fan?
As a New Japan fan, first of all, the highlight for me was Naito Okada in the main event. I am a Naito, not just Naito, but his whole faction, Los Ingobernables de Japón. I'm a mark for the whole group. So
it's way better you pronounce that than I pronounce it. I'm just throwing that out there.
So that's not even how I say it on my show. On my shows, I get into it stupid and say it all embarrassing. I'm just going to pronounce it Los Ingobernables de Japón. So I'm a big mark for that group. This main event was everything that you want in a main event. There were moments where any guy could have won this. There were points where these guys were on their knees throwing elbows, fighting to their feet. There were finishing moves. Okay. In New Japan, I want to stress that when you watch a New Japan match, in New Japan, every finishing move is the AA. Like, it's going to take 4 of them, okay? Just understand that. There are no finishing moves that are going to stop you with one of them. Every finishing move there is the AA. It's just a glorified signature move.
Gotcha.
So there were finishing moves thrown out, signature. I mean, there were moments. I sat on the edge of my. You can go back and watch the replays. I'm on the edge of my seat watching this. To me, this was everything you want in a main event of your biggest show. The crowd was into it. The crowd fully supported both guys. There was a story told in the ring. This was everything you want in a main event. After that, I would say the only way it could have been better is if Naito would have won it. But you know what? Patrick Ewing didn't win a title either because Michael Jordan was a thing. It happens.
Fair enough.
After that, I'd say the match still not going with Alpha versus Omega. The Junior Heavyweight Championship match. This was a four-way dance. Marty Scurll defending, representing the Bullet Club. Will Ospreay representing Chaos. Kushida and coming from LIJ, we had Takahashi. These guys are all four former or current reigning junior heavyweight champions. The great thing about Japan is that the way New Japan handles their juniors, which are basically their cruiserweights, they don't just shove them off to the side. They don't just send you to purple hell where you don't exist. You are treated with just as much respect as any other champion. You just happen to be a different weight class. It's more like UFC. Like Conor McGregor's not the heavyweight champion, but he's still badass. So they work a lot like that. This match was phenomenal. I went into this match thinking anyone could win it. There was no clear cut this guy's got a better shot. I did think Kushida was probably going to win it. The heart said Takahashi because I am an LIJ mark. Will Ospreay actually picked up the win. Great match. If you are a fan of juniors or cruiserweight or any of that kind of stuff, this is definitely the match for you. Will Ospreay, I'm not a fan of the guy, but his stuff's more like a choreographed dance. But if that is what you like, you're gonna love this.
I would throw that in there too. I am also not a fan of the guy, but hey,
not that I don't think he's talented, and I totally think he's talented and athletic, and I see the place for what he does. It's just not personally how I watch wrestling.
100%.
After that, I'll go ahead and give it to Jericho Omega. This was an outstanding match. This was the best story. This was not Omega's best match. This was the best story Omega has ever told, though. And this wasn't a wrestling match. This was a all-out war. This was a brawl beginning to end. I'm not going to say anything new about this that no one said, other than probably that part about it being the best story Omega's ever told. This match was pure old school wrestling.
Well, let me interrupt there for a second. I like the fact that, because of course, like I said, I saw the last 5 minutes, courtesy of you. You're awesome. But I like the fact because Talk is Jericho came out this week, and he had Don Callis on there, the American voice of New Japan on New Japan World. And Callis is basically the one that planted this idea in Jericho's head, if you did not get a chance to listen to that. But he also, and I don't know if you heard it either yourself, Mike, but he also was saying how he mentioned to Omega that they don't need to have a 6-star match. They've already done that. Omega's already done that. They don't need to go that route. What he was basically telling Omega is they need to do something different that they haven't seen him do before. Because he basically put it that Omega can have a 5-6-star match wherever he wants. And I say 6-star tongue-in-cheek. I freaking hate that Dave Meltzer is on his high horse so high that he has to throw that shit out there.
Well, man, you get 2 stars for having it in the Tokyo Dome automatically. So really all you have to do is put on a 4-star match.
as our, podcast favorite, Something to Wrestle With, Bruce Pritchard would say, well, if it happens in the Tokyo Dome, of course it's 6 stars. But regardless, not taking anything away from Omega and the matches that he has had, basically the point that they should do something different. And from everything that I've heard, from what I've seen, they definitely achieve that, and that again is exciting because regardless of it being a super, high spot 5-star match, it was something that everyone is still talking about today.
Yeah, totally. 100% agree. They're going to talk about this for the rest of the year. We're going to be at the end of the year talking about this show.
Well, and that kind of brings me to my next point, because I unfortunately spoiled something for you a little bit earlier. What happened at New Year's Dash with, guess what? Y2J. I'll go ahead and let you explain that a little bit to everyone.
So I went to sleep last night with the intentions of waking up today and watching New Year's Dash. If you don't know what New Year's Dash is the show that happens every year the day after Wrestle Kingdom. It's kind of like their version of the post-Mania Raw. And generally, what they do is they announce the matches that day right before the show. You don't hear anything. They just announce the matches at the start of the show. Boom. And it's generally like, anywhere from 6 to 10-man tags and some other just like good one-on-one matches. But it's where they set up new stories moving forward, have like big developments. This is where AJ Styles was kicked out of the Bullet Club.
Right.
And Kenny Omega took over, for instance. So I had every intention of waking up and watching this and then reviewing it for the network. And I wake up and my phone is set up so that if Facebook Messenger messages are sent, I can read them just right from my screen without unlocking it. And I wake up and pick my phone up and it says, Jericho attacked Naito last night. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Wah, wah, wah. In my defense, I obviously assumed you already saw it.
Yeah, that's true. I figured you probably did. I assumed that I'd already seen it. Because, honestly, I would have assumed that too. But yeah, this is actually the last thing I was going to talk about for highlights from this week in New Japan. This is going to be the moment we look back on as this is even bigger to me than Kenny Omega. First of all, I'm a Naito mark. But this is bigger to me than Kenny Omega because Kenny Omega is the internet wrestling darling, right? Everyone knows who Kenny Omega is. Even if you don't watch New Japan, you're strictly a WWE fan. I bet you've seen a Kenny Omega match. Mike, I know you've seen Kenny Omega matches.
Yep, and he would be like this. He's like the new version of Kevin Steen.
Yes, and how many Naito matches have you ever watched?
Bits and pieces of last year's.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll hold my breath. It's cool. I've seen not saying that talking shit to you about watching Naito matches. I'm saying that because, yeah, sure, dude's gonna show up to watch to fight the biggest wrestling sensation in the world. Dude's gonna stick around to take on the guy that just lost the main event of their biggest show. What? That's something else entirely, because now it's not a big one-off thing. This isn't Goldberg coming back and fighting Lesnar. This is Goldberg coming back and fighting Lesnar, and now he's gonna stick around and take on Seth Rollins.
Right.
What? Okay. Cool. But it's just this means he's staying. This is this is a one shot. Now I'm helping this company out. Now I'm here and I'm really helping this company out because this is big.
Which is great. You actually just rolled me into the next topic I wanted to get into, which was where do we go from here with the Jericho thing? Because a lot, and I mean like 99% of fans, talking heads, everything assumed this is a one shot. And, pardon me, he even presented it as that. Now, there was some story into this that kind of got weaved through unhappiness and, pardon me, as I want to kind of term it, which is funny, but a part-timer coming in and taking a spot from a main guy. Where have we heard that before?
Ooh, that sounds really familiar, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Naito wasn't happy that they called it a co-main event. He had stated right away, I don't like that this is a co-main event. And he's got beef with that because a few years back he won the G1 and had a shot at Okada Tanahashi, who's the Cena of New Japan, had a shot at then Intercontinental Champion Shinsuke Nakamura. They let fans vote on what should be the main event, and they voted Nakamura Tanahashi. So Naito already has this history of being slighted with main events, and they played that in perfectly into this whole thing where he could, I don't like this main event, and they even had Jericho talk about, like, who's Naito? I've never even heard of this dude, so I don't even care what he has to say. He's been saying things like this. And they have just weaved this brilliant underlying story into something that's going to carry them now. As long as they want it to.
Well, and it's funny because, again, back to the Talk is Jericho episode, you and I, the last time we talked about Omega and Jericho, or let me rephrase that, because I can't keep a track of how often we talk on record. The last time we talked on record was about when it happened, when it was like, hey, this is a thing. He challenged Omega. You and I both said the internet was going crazy, even rumors that Jericho didn't even tell Vince, and you and I both sat here and said, that is horseshit. There's no way he didn't tell Vince. It was confirmed by Chris Jericho himself on his own podcast this week. He laid out, I'm not going to go into it, go listen to his show if you want to know the full details, but he basically laid out, not only did he tell Vince, Vince told him it was a good idea. Which kind of makes me wonder, and I'm not being conspiracy theorist here, I'm just saying, he also had to know that this was not a one-time thing. If this was something that came out of what was happening and wasn't originally planned, which I don't think it was originally planned, but when more come about, I don't think Jericho would just say, well, I got goodwill, so I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want. This is still another conversation he has. Hey, this is going well, tickets are selling, they want me to stick around and do this. It's good for business. And it is, because it literally, this can put eyes on WWE too. Because no matter way, shape, or form you look at this, Jericho is a WWE guy. Coming in to another company and just being a dick and fighting people for no reason, which is awesome.
Not only that, but the first time he comes back after all this is gonna be huge.
Huge. And that's where Vince will capitalize on it. And how surprised, like, I'm trying to think of how to word this. Would it surprise you at all if this, because do I think Chris Jericho is going to be in New Japan Pro Wrestling for the next year or two? No, I don't. He's going to do what interests him, that raises, no offense, he's doing stuff to help them, but he's also doing it to help himself. Because he now is worth more. Even though he was worth a lot, he's worth even more now. And the more he does over there that keeps eyes over there, it raises his stock for WWE. So when he comes back, he can say, look, I want this, this, and this. How surprised would you be if Jericho came back, and I don't have a timetable because this latest development surprises me, but if he comes back and they put one of the main Universal WWE Championships on Jericho, I think that would be a great idea.
Man, weren't they going to put it on him before Goldberg left anyway? Before Goldberg came back?
Goldberg screwed everything up.
This only makes him more valuable as a champion.
100%. I mean, when I think, and this is why I'm so excited and why I wanted to talk so bad about this, because as a WWE fan who is open to absolutely any form of pro wrestling, all this does make me more excited about pro wrestling. All this does is increase my desire to see what's going to happen next, and that's literally for everything. And we got WrestleMania season right around the corner, and we already know Jericho isn't going to be there. He's got a Fozzy date at WrestleMania. I thought maybe he'd ride this momentum right into the Rumble, but I don't see that now because they set this up, and I'm sure there's not enough time for that to play out. What's New Japan's next big show?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I just looked at it too.
Well, and that kind of shows the strength of New Japan is they don't have a weekly show. It's not something that I think that's where WWE can fall short because when people give them such a hard time, and I understand some of the points people make, but dear God, they write how many hours of TV every single damn week? They're not all going to be home runs. It's just not possible.
No, it wasn't even home runs when it was consistently good all the time.
Yeah, and everyone's got those rose-colored glasses on, but but what I think the bottom line is that this show delivered, and everyone that was wanting to watch it got what they wanted out of it. Everybody that was new to the product will probably, I haven't heard anyone say this is my first time and it sucked. So, assuming they had a good time watching it and didn't have trouble navigating the site, they probably, I'm curious to see how many new subscribers they have after the next month or so on New Japan World.
I know at least 2 people that subscribe simply because of this.
Well, see, there you go. So they are at least 2 more.
They're $20 richer. $20
richer. Exactly. And maybe
I don't
that's
even know
what
if
kept Y2J there.
I don't even know if it's $20 because it's 999 yen.
I've heard it's really about $8 US.
Yeah,
so,
I was going to say, I think it comes out to like 8 something.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, okay, we've kind of run through a lot of things. I know we're still short on time. You kind of got to get going here, but we're just going to wrap the show up. But real quick, before you go, this is kind of New Japan, but it's absolutely not New Japan. I talked to you a little bit about this, but dear God, we get the Balor Club and Vince fucking Russo.
Man.
Our favorite topic to
Man,
talk
you gonna
about
keep me on the line to talk about this asshole?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, okay.
100%.
Okay, well, hold on, because let me put my sunglasses on, all right? Because right now you're talking to Mike, and I'm putting the glasses on so I can go into king mode here. Okay.
I love it. I love it.
Hold on. 5.
Let's clarify.
3. Okay. Parents, I'm about to swear a lot. Do with that information what you will. Okay. Who the fuck is Vince? Does he even watch wrestling? Like, okay. To say that putting Balor with some jobber, I'm not going to argue the fact that they're a jobber tag team, okay? They're a jobber tag team. Let's call a rose a rose. I'll call a spade a spade. It is what it is. Okay, Vince, you got that. But does he not understand that this is the one move that you could do to elevate all 3 of these men to the upper echelons of Raw right now? This is not just okay, these are the guys. You remember 5 years ago when you'd see maybe 12 Bullet Club shirts in the audience and they just started to get fucking cool? These were the guys that made them cool. This is the Bullet Club. These are some guys that were gifted some cool t-shirts and some cool slogans and some hand motions. These are the guys that put in the work and made this shit cool. They were doing this back when Kenny Omega was Kota Ibushi's gay boyfriend called the Golden Lovers, winning junior heavyweight tag team titles before he even had gray hair. Okay? This is the Bullet Club. Vince. Bro. Please cut your head off. And I don't mean like your real actual head.
The jobber tag team, bro.
Take your wrestling head and put it on the chopping block and clean that sumbitch right off.
Listen, bro, they're a jobber tag team, bro. They haven't done anything but sell some sandwiches, and they suck, bro. All they're gonna do is fucking drag Finn Balor down a little hole. Let's just put him on 205 Live and send these guys back to Japan, bro, because they fucking suck, bro.
Oh, no. Who is Finn Balor? I could beat Finn Balor up right now. You put me in a room with Finn Balor, I would beat Finn Balor. He's just a CrossFit champion that's got an 8-pack. He doesn't look like he could beat anyone in a fight, bro. I'm telling you, putting him with 2 jobbers like this, bro, this is going to do nothing for either one of them. These guys are dead. Might as well go back to Japan. What? This is going to make these... Did you hear the crowd response?
Listen, it literally, Vince Russo complaining about the literal, I don't swear a lot on my shows, but it's the reunion of the OG fucking Bullet Club here, okay? And you already made all the points you need to make about that. You cover that. Is exactly why I brought it up, because you can cover it better than anyone.
This is the Bullet Club, and they can do Too Sweet and all the Bullet Club stuff.
We literally got, as fans, like, to me, and I love the Shield, this is, and I'm assuming this is something that's going to continue here, but this is literally what fans have been clamoring for since news broke that Gallows and Anderson and AJ Styles were coming to WWE. This is a tweet or a Twitter tease from Finn Balor standing outside the Performance Center, and I don't remember if he had a Balor Club shirt on or an actual Bullet Club shirt on, standing outside looking at his watch saying he's waiting. Like, this is, what, 2.5 years of, or maybe a year and a half, my time frame's off, pent up frustration of having something dangle in front of a wrestling fan that we can't have, that we just got.
This is over 2 years.
And Vince Russo is going to sit on his high horse and say, because, and I have Gallows and Anderson done a ton recently? No. But they were WWE Tag Team Champs. Let's not forget that. Did they have the greatest title run? No. But they lost to the fucking Hardys. Okay? It's not like they lost to the Colognes here, the Puerto Rican real estate salesmen.
Right.
They lost to a returning Hardy Boys at Wrestle freaking Mania. They went into WrestleMania last year as the WWE Raw Tag Team Champions. Okay? Now, as I kind of talked, if you heard the High Five Party, I don't know if this was part of a grand scheme, and that's why Finn was kind of getting, not sidelined, but not highlighted, why they were in the back pushing merch. But as I said, they're one of the top merch sellers on WWE Shop, and I don't even think their shirts are that cool. So, obviously they know they have something with them, and whether this was a grand scheme, whether they got in someone's ear, or whether it's just happenstance, if Vince Russo is going to call that out, then it just proves that he and the people who follow and hang on every word that comes out of that idiot's mouth are never going to be pleased with anything that is done inside that universe.
Agreed.
I don't know what else to say, Mike.
I don't either. You've said it all. We've said it all. I hate that
We've said it all
every time.
I know. I think I'm going to make sure anytime I want to talk about Vince Russo, I'm just going to call you and be like, we got to get the King's take on this asshole.
Super.
Well, you want to plug any of your shit before we call it a day, sir?
Yeah, Monday through Friday, I do shit. Watch it. It's great. You'll laugh. You'll cry. You'll come. I'm sorry. I don't mean that. I'm sorry. It's someone else's show. I didn't mean to. Try not to use the C word on other people's shows.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. I mark these as explicit just in case I forget that I slipped with something, so it's all good.
Okay.
It's all good. We're all family, a happy wrestling family. I do, real quick before we go, the exciting development that I have mentioned, that both the King of Nerds and Shooter, myself, we will be at WWE Fastlane this year, taking it in. Hopefully drinking a few beers together beforehand. We have separate seating arrangements because separate wives or queens buying us tickets, which is awesome on their end. Yeah. But so there is a possibility of some near fall network shenanigans going on at actual live WWE pay-per-view, and I'm super stoked about that. Other than that, guys, I say it every week. It's been real. It's been fun. We'll catch you next time.
Have a good one, boys and girls.